Hey there, it's Bear in a Backpack, and today we're going to be looking at Enter the Gungeon. So, what is Enter the Gungeon? Well, it's a roguelike, bullet-hell dungeon crawler developed by Dodge Roll Games and published by Devolver Digital, who are responsible for publishing games such as Shadow Warrior and Hotline Miami, which, if you haven't played at this point, you should totally go check out, because they're really fun. In Enter the Gungeon, you play as a Gungeoneer, and your goal is to reach the end of the Gungeon to claim the gun that can kill the past. Which sounds like an 80s B-movie plot, but it's still really fun and interesting. So what's the gameplay like? Well, it's very similar to Binding of Isaac or Nuclear Throne if you've played those. You go room to room, clearing out enemies, looking for items, sometimes doing not much of anything. There are rooms that have nothing in them. And you do this again and again, searching through the floor of the dungeon until you find the boss room, at which point you fight the boss and hopefully win, at which point you can move on to the next floor of the Gungeon. To start your run, you begin by picking your character. Now, your beginning options are the Convict, the Marine, the Pilot, and the Hunter. And if you're playing co-op, you can also choose the Cultist, but we'll talk about that later. Now, each of these characters has their own unique abilities and starting weapons. For instance, the Marine comes with just a pistol, for all intents and purposes, and the ability to call in a supply drop, which will drop in ammo to you when you're in desperate need of it. Whereas if you're playing as the Convict, she starts with a pistol and a shotgun, and has the ability to throw Molotov cocktails. In addition, if she gets damaged, she has a temporary damage boost that can come in handy. The majority of the combat in this game involves a run and gun style, where you're dodging out of the way of bullets by quite literally dodge rolling through them. You kind of jump in the air and roll forward past the incoming fire, and that allows you to avoid a lot of the hits that you may normally take by just trying to run around them. The key defensive item that you're provided at the beginning of every floor are called blanks. You get 2 at the beginning of every floor, and what they do is when activated, they clear all bullets from the screen. Now, this is extremely helpful in boss fights that may send hundreds of bullets your direction that you may not be able to actually get out of the way of just using the dodge roll. So then you can activate a blank and get rid of them. And that gives you time to get out of the way, reposition, maybe get a few shots off, something like that. But you have to be careful because, as mentioned, you only get a few of them. So once you use them, they're gone. Now, these can also be used when you're in a sticky situation in the rest of the floor, where you've got so many enemies firing at you that you're not going to be able to roll out of the way in time, and you can use it then. It's really all about choosing when and where to use the blanks. Enter the Gungeon also has a local cooperative mode in which your friend of choice plays as the Cultist, and is armed with, well, a Nerf gun, and it's actually pretty hilarious because I'm really not kidding, it's a Nerf gun. It fires little foam darts that stick to the walls. And funnily enough, it actually even does less damage than the normal gun, which adds a little bit of comedy to the character. Now at this point you may be asking, well, yeah, that's all well and good, but what about the guns? I mean, this game is called Enter the Gungeon, right? There has to be a lot of guns. You would be correct. There is a dizzying array of guns. There are so many guns I can't even begin to list all the different types of guns. I mean, I found a gun that was a mailbox, and it shot letters and packages at people. I found a gun that's a lowercase r that just says bullet whenever you fire, and quite literally spells out bullet with the bullets it fires. It's pretty hilarious. I mean, I also found a gun that shoots bees. That's it. It shoots bees. It shoots bees at the enemies, they go at them, attack them, and kill them. There's so many guns in this game that it's always interesting. I mean, every playthrough you will get a different type of gun, and it makes it have a lot of replayability in my eyes. Another thing in Enter the Gungeon that you'll find plenty of, well, it's death. You will die. A lot. Repeatedly. Probably to the same boss. It's a hard game. Really hard. But that doesn't make it bad. It actually makes it really fun because you're constantly challenging yourself to do better than you did in the last playthrough. And this can be really, really rewarding when you finally kill that boss you've been trying so hard to kill for the last 3 runs, and it's just been kicking your ass 7 ways to Sunday, and you finally kill him. It's a great feeling. Dying in Enter the Gungeon is really brutal. I mean, just look at what happens when you do finally take that last round that takes away your final heart. I mean, look, your character gets shot again after death. And so brutal, too. It's perfectly quiet except for that gunshot. It really, really stings when you die. One of my favorite aspects of Enter the Gungeon is the pixel art style that they use, and specifically the way they really stick to that gun theme. I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, they have guns on the guns, with the guns. I mean, look, there's a gun there. There's another gun. There's a bullet holding a gun. There's a bullet in that picture about a bullet. There's this guy over here. Look at him. He's holding a spear with a revolver at the end of it. I mean, literally everything. He's standing next to a giant shell casing, for God's sakes. They really, really take the gun motif and go running with it. And that's great. I like that. I really enjoy that. At this point, we should probably talk about the pros and cons of Enter the Gungeon. The gameplay itself is very engaging and challenging. It's actually a lot of fun, even in failure, to go back and try and do a little bit better than you did before. The art style is very fun and unique, and like I mentioned, they really, really stick to that gun motif. They really pull out all the stops to make everything echo that. You also have an amazing variety of weapons to choose from. I mean, so many, so very many guns. It's always interesting going through a run because you never know what gun you're going to get. It might be really good, might be complete crap, you never know. You also have a charming cast of enemies and characters that provide a little bit of fun in every single playthrough. The teleport system that they use in the game is super convenient. In a lot of games of this style, you'll have to actually run back all the way through the floors to get to a room you may not have noticed the first time around, and in this you can simply teleport to rooms that you've already cleared out that also have a teleport pad in them. It makes for a much nicer experience, and I really am glad they put that in there. The sound design for Enter the Gungeon was spot on, from the individual gun sounds to the little sounds that the characters make when running, such as the convict that has the sound of bare feet padding along on the ground because she is indeed barefoot. Finally, there is a ton of replayability in Enter the Gungeon. Because your runs are more or less random, you're never really going to see the same thing again, and that's good. That keeps it interesting. Now, of course, we have to talk about the cons. Now, first is the, steep learning curve. If you're not used to these types of games, or even if you are, it's still kind of difficult. You're going to have to do a lot of learning and a lot of exploring to kind of get your feet under you, learn to time the dodge rolls correctly, stuff like that, and it can be kind of daunting at first. Also, a lot of times your runs can be decided by the loot drops you get. You may go through an entire floor and never actually get a better weapon than the starting weapon, and then you have to fight the floor boss with that. Now, it's not impossible, but it requires a lot of skill to pull off, and for starting players, this can be really difficult. It can also be difficult to keep track of all the different item abilities you may have at any given time. And finally, just having local co-op as the only option for co-op is kind of annoying. They have said that they may release it as a future update to have online co-op, but as of right now, it's really kind of unfortunate. Alright, time for the ratings. So we've got gameplay at 9 out of 10, story at 6 out of 10, sound at 8.5 out of 10, graphics at 9 out of 10, and replayability at 8.5 out of 10. Now this gives us an overall score of 8.2 out of 10. And I would say buy it, play it, and you'll enjoy it. You really will. It's a blast. It's so much fun to play. If you want to play Enter the Gungeon for yourself and have fun shooting bullets with other bullets, you can go to their Steam page shown here and buy it for yourself. Well, that's it for today's review, and if you've enjoyed this review, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to see more game reviews in the future and other gaming content.